The shooting left 5 people injured. 4 of them were Morgan State University students.
And tonight, the community still continues to process that shooting as violence grips Morgan State during homecoming week again.
And everyone was running, and we couldn't see. All I saw was the glass window shatter. I heard the bullets.
We have team coverage as Mackenzie Frost and Vincent Hill looking at the questions surrounding Mayor Brandon Scott's response to the shooting. We begin with Keith Daniels, hearing from a student who was feet from the scene of the crime when those shots rang out. Keith?
Well, Kai and Mary, her name is Samantha. She says she was walking out of a building when suddenly that gunfire erupted right across the street from her. And tonight, her injuries, her story. Morgan State University in the light of day, with few people on campus after an unforgettable night of violence. Samantha Morrell.
I didn't even realize that I was bleeding till someone told me when we stopped running.
An 18-year-old freshman among those students caught him at the gunfire Tuesday. Samantha was inside the Murphy Fine Arts Center for the coronation events, standing near the front door when bullets pierced the windows.
Everyone was running, and we couldn't see. All I saw was the glass window shatter. I heard the bullets, and it just came down on me, and I was just like, okay. So now it was just run. The only thought that I had was run. Stay low and run.
She was wounded. Shard glass hit her leg in several places, not realizing it, she says, until later.
I was just in shock. I didn't want to believe what was happening was real.
But it was real. Samantha says police and staff escorted her and others from the rear of the building to her dorm at Blount Towers, where she waited in a friend's room behind locked doors in fear, with an active shooter situation unfolding.
We turned off all the lights. We tried to keep as quiet as possible. We sat in the farthest corner away from the window and away from the door of the room. We were just praying to God that we could stay safe, and everybody outside was safe.
Traumatic events during homecoming week, with 5 people shot, 4 of them students. No suspect yet, but police releasing images of persons of interest. Meantime this week, classes are canceled, homecoming on hold.
It's just sad that the innocent have to suffer from now for the guilty. So I hate that our weekend has to end like this.
It's like we can't get a break. We can't get a break. And I understand it was for the right reason, but it's heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking and frightening for Samantha, too, who's home in New Jersey with her family.
A feeling of disorientation, but I'm also relieved to be home where it's, I don't want to say safer, but I'm not where danger was.
Well, Samantha says when she called her mother, both her parents, her father and mother, decided that they were going to pick her up. They were here just within hours of the incident. But tonight, she told me when classes resume, she'll be back here at Morgan State. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
And we want to show you those persons of interest once again. Police shared this video late last night, which appears to show a group of 4 people walking around campus. Anyone with information is asked to call Metro Crime Stoppers at the number on your screen.
Well, residents are turning to Mayor Brandon Scott to address the relentless violence in Baltimore, as the mayor says it is time for change at the national level. But what about the local level? Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost pressed the mayor about his plan to address the crisis.
The mayor continues to look to Congress for help to curb this gun violence. And now the mayor is skirting new questions we're asking him about support for legislation that has been introduced here in Maryland that supporters say would have sent the message to criminals that gun violence wouldn't be tolerated.
Whether it's on college campuses, community block parties, or on a school lunch break at Popeyes, the bloodshed in Baltimore is happening everywhere. Mayor Brandon Scott looking to leaders down the road in Washington to help break this cycle of bullets, cutting lives short.
We cannot continue to ignore the elephant in the room. This is a national issue that has to be addressed at the national level.
When we pressed him on why congressional assistance is the right approach, he says,
because it's their job.
Why can't you and other state leaders push for legislation at the state level to ensure there are tougher penalties for people who shoot and kill other people?
I think that when you look at Maryland's laws around guns and gun violence, we have some of the best in the country, Mackenzie. The guns are coming in from other places, other states. That is why this is a national issue. It's a both and, Mackenzie, not an either or.
Thursday morning on Fox 45 News.
I'm not surprised seeing the recent Goucher poll that 53% of residents have an unfavorable view of the mayor because of statements like this.
Community activist Eurypsy Morgan says people in the city are searching for solutions, not national appeals.
They want to know why there are not stricter penalties for people who are carrying guns illegally in their communities. Why would you not go down the street in Annapolis where the laws are being made?
We sent questions to Mayor Brandon Scott Thursday about legislation at the state level, asking, why didn't you support the Violent Firearms Offender Act or the Repeat Violent Offenders Act in Annapolis for the last 3 years? If the plans are introduced again this year, will you support the legislation and use your position to urge other lawmakers to support them too? If not, what specific bills are you working with the Baltimore City delegation to introduce to hold gun offenders accountable? Is it time for mandatory minimums to be considered in Maryland for gun offenders? The mayor's office not even acknowledging the questions, ignoring the email and refusing to answer. While the mayor continues to punt on taking local action at the state level, mass shootings in Baltimore continue to climb, and families are forever impacted by the people who decide to pull a trigger.
The Violent Firearms Offender Act and similar legislation have been introduced by Republicans year after year, and each time there hasn't been enough support from Democrats for those plans to move forward. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
A Goucher poll released this week shows Baltimore residents may be looking for a change in leadership. The poll surveyed more than 700 voters. Only 27% are backing Brandon Scott, while 39% would vote for former Mayor Dixon. At a town hall in West Baltimore last night, Dixon said it's time for change.
I like my private life. I also love this city. I know it's going to take an experienced leader to move the city forward in an aggressive way that right now is not happening.
Fox 45 News has reached out to both Mayor Scott and Sheila Dixon, inviting the two candidates to participate in a series of Fox 45 News town halls leading up to the Democratic primary. Dixon has agreed to attend a Fox 45 News town hall October 24th, where she'll answer your questions and share her plans and vision to address Baltimore's biggest issues. Mayor Scott has not responded so far.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you trust Mayor Scott to keep your community safe? So far, 97% of people who voted say no. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in.
Another community leader is demanding more from city leaders in the wake of the Morgan State University shooting. Fox 45's Vincent Hill spoke to the Randallstown NAACP president about what he wants to see from the mayor. Vincent?
Yeah, Kai, Coleman says what's happening in Baltimore is quite simply a result of the leadership in Baltimore.
This is not happening all over the country.
NAACP President Ryan Coleman voicing his frustration with Mayor Brandon Scott's response to Morgan State's mass shooting.
This is not just a Baltimore thing.
Does it seem like sometimes he passes the buck and shifts blame from himself?
I mean, he's right in a way that Congress can help. He's wrong in the fact that he's the mayor.
Coleman says the only thing putting Baltimore in the national spotlight is its crime.
This is not necessarily a national phenomenon. This level of violence in Baltimore is Baltimore. It's becoming normal. We can't have it become normal, where a 15-year-old is killed outside of a school and it's a one-day conversation. Then 2 people are beat, 1 raped, then another woman is killed. Then a sheriff's deputy is killed. Then the Morgan State. I mean, these are national stories happening.
Coleman says the mayor is losing the fight against crime. Now, when you say he's defeated, what do you mean?
When I say he's defeated, it's almost like it's nothing that we can do. The only thing we can do is hold press conferences, get everyone together, have a large police presence after 5 people have already been shot. I need him to do all he can do to stop this violence.
Coleman also calling out current juvenile crime laws, which many say is part of the city's crime crisis. What do you think is driving this juvenile crime crisis?
I think that people get confused with accountability and putting your arm around a juvenile. As far as some of the juvenile justice laws, I think we have an obligation to look at those. to see if they're contributing to what's going on. But is it really controversial that if a juvenile steals a car 3 and 4 times, that they shouldn't be on home monitoring?
And Coleman also calling on Governor Moore to do more about repeat offenders. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Vincent, thank you. The NAACP, just the latest group calling for change to Maryland's juvenile justice laws. We've also heard from a dozen state's attorneys across Maryland who represent more than 80% of the state's population. They say their hands are tied when it comes to holding young offenders accountable.
They know that, nothing's really going to happen to them if they keep their crime in a certain limit of types of crime.
They come in, we can't detain them, they're back in the community the next day.
We all have the same sad song, no matter where we are in the state.
State's attorneys are taking issue with 2 laws. The Juvenile Justice Reform Act limits children 13 and under from facing most charges, and the Child Interrogation Act prevents police from questioning juvenile suspects without an attorney or parent's permission.
House Speaker Adrian Jones and Senate President Bill Ferguson are 2 of the most powerful lawmakers in Annapolis. If you want to contact them about public safety legislation, their phone numbers and email addresses are on your screen.
And if you'd like to connect with more of your elected leaders, our website makes it easy. Go to foxbaltimore.com, click on the menu at the top left of your screen, select lawmakers. From there, you can enter your home address to find the official who represents you at the local, state, and federal levels.